We're here with Dwight Trafford, and Dwight Trafford's a mortgage broker here in Orangeville since the beginning of time. Like, I mean, pterodactyls were flying around the sky when Dwight was doing mortgages here. And I'm Kevin Flaherty with iPro Realty, and what we wanted to do is just try and answer some of the questions that you guys are having with respect to mortgages and real estate in general. So welcome, Dwight. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So why don't we, how are you, how is this let's start personally. How is this affecting you personally? I understand you went for a test a little while ago.
Yeah, I mean, really, this has come up so fast. Even Saturday, it seemed fine to go to a restaurant and watch a band, and then all of a sudden over the weekend, come Monday morning, everybody's afraid to go out. My wife was actually not feeling all that well, and for those that are over 60, if you have some sort of symptoms, definitely I recommend you get tested. And for me, I didn't really have any symptoms, but because I'm over 60, they would test me as well. So this is now Friday. We don't have our results back, but we both feel fine.
But where did you go for your testing?
Brampton Civic Hospital.
Okay. And how did you arrange to get tested?
Well, it's simple. You go over there. There's security. They meet you. They're all wearing hazmat outfits, and they ask you a few questions. And of course, if you're 30 or 40 or 10, if you have no symptoms, they tell you that you will be turned away. You can go through the lineup if you want, but they will turn you away if you have no symptoms. But I said, but I'm a senior. They said, oh, you will be tested. So fine. And they handed me a number, and you wait for your number. And it took all day, but
okay.
At least I'm tested. I should get a result, tomorrow or the next day. But I do feel fine. But there are lots of people walking around today with no symptoms, and that's the problem with this virus.
Yep.
People walking around with no symptoms but carrying the virus.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure I wasn't one of those people.
Oh, good job. All right. So why don't we start off, maybe look at this. What we're going to talk about is where were we at before this started? Maybe have a look at what happened to the stress test, what's going on with rates, maybe define rates. I mean, we have the overnight lending rate, prime rate, Bank of Canada rate, mortgage rate, maybe define what those are to people. And deferring payments for 6 months, maybe look at that. A lot of people are uncertain, wondering what's going on there. Why don't we start off with before? How were things happening before this kind of set in?
So since the collapse of the American real estate.
Oops. And we lost Dwight. Come on, Dwight. You coming back? Hey, there you are.
Sorry.
All right. Good.
So in Canada, being overly cautious, as we always are, brought in, that's the Finance Canada, the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, brought in a lot of new rules to kind of make sure that we'd be safe. And we have been safe. The arrears in Canada is so low that it's hard to measure. But it did restrict a lot of the borrowing. It restricted people that are self-employed, restricted people that were had soft credit. So having said all that, that opened the door for a lot of alternate lenders. And I say that because in regard to what you mentioned with the overnight rate and the Bank of Canada rate and mortgage rates, there are a lot of sources of funds for the banks when it comes to putting out mortgages. Now, predominantly, so you've heard the overnight rate dropping to almost zero. You hear the prime lending rate being dropped down now to 2.95, no, 2.45 right now. And then you hear mortgage rates that are down to obscene numbers like 2% or 2.19, 2.29. So why are they also different, and what's happening? And let me just say also, with that recent drop, now the banks have also started to hike rates again. And again, it doesn't seem logical that they're hiking rates when the Bank of Canada is lowering the rates. So what is actually going on? So investors typically want to put their money where they're going to get the best return, and usually that's the stock market. But when the stock market is not stable, like it wasn't last week, they look for other sources of investment, and that's typically the bond market. So when people pile a lot of money into the bond market, then that drops the return on the bond market. And mortgages tend to come from the bond markets. So when the people are pouring all the money into the bond markets, because the stock market is not stable, that lowers mortgage rates. So at this time, it happened at the same time the bank was lowering their rate. Now the bank is lowering their rate, trying to bring the stock market back. So the bank is lowering their rate, stock market's in the toilet, mortgage rates are dropping, everything kind of seems to be going in the same direction. But since then, the stock market started to recover. So the stock market started to recover a little bit in the last few days. Investors are now pulling away from the bond markets and back to the stock markets. And as a result, mortgage rates are starting to rise again. So Bank of Canada rates still really low. Mortgage rates are sneaking up again. Two completely different sources of funds. Now on the subprime market, that's a different animal again altogether. So the subprime market is where people have to go that have weak credit or they're self-employed, can't prove their income. And the sources for that money is very varied. So even though we've seen the A lenders dropping their mortgage rates and now moving back up again, those B lanes has all pretty much stayed the same because their sources of funds vary a whole lot. They're not necessarily from the stock market. They're not necessarily from the bond markets. They're borrowing money from the banks. They're borrowing money from all different sources to put money out at these slightly higher rates.
Okay, so that really explained for me because that was going to be one of my questions. So the Bank of Canada drops rates initially. Oh, we lost Dwight again. There, he's back. Bank of Canada drops rates. Then it got passed right along to the consumer there, and then they started coming back up again. I'm like, what's going on? Bank of Canada hasn't raised rates, but bank rates are coming up, which basically that is the explanation for that. Okay. So the stress test was set to be reviewed, and I understand that got put on hold now.
It did. Like with what's going on, they were reviewing the stress test to really allow more people a little more flexibility when it comes to qualifying for mortgages. And you know what, that stress test that they were going to implement in April really wasn't going to make a big difference, but it may have made a little difference. But with what's going on, all this instability with rates dropping, they thought the rates dropping itself would offset what they were going to do with the stress test. So what they were going to do with the stress test was to make things more affordable. But with rates dropping, they're more affordable anyway. So now they're worried that if people are getting in at these 2.2, 2.5% rates and they go back up again, they could be in trouble. So they held off with this stress test relief.
So that's a great lead into what I was going to say. I've been recommending anybody that I know, and tell me if I think I'm pretty solid on this, that anybody with a variable rate, this wouldn't be a bad time to lock in.
Yeah, and what is also surprising is, so the variable rate is really attractive so the way the banks price mortgages on a variable rate, it's prime minus something, right? So whether it's prime minus 1, prime minus 0.6. So again, today their prime is at 2.45. So if they're getting prime minus 1, that's 1.45, which is a great deal. But those are drying up. So when it's kind of counterintuitive or counterproductive that as the prime has gone down and the Bank of Canada rates gone down, they've shrunk their discounts off of prime too. So really the savings has not been passed on. So instead of getting 1% off, now they're only getting 0.5% off. So right now the variable and the fixed rate are about the same. So there's really no advantage either way. I've always been a fan of the variable rate only because of its flexibility. You can get out of a variable rate very cheaply. A $400,000 mortgage in a variable rate, you can get out for about $2,000, where in a fixed rate, you could pay up to 20 grand to get out of it. So all things being equal, the variable rate is a way more flexibility, and 80% of people do leave their mortgages before the term expires. I like
80% leave their mortgage before the term expires. Wow.
80%.
That would certainly offset any savings if you're in that 80%.
It would. And those penalties, where do they go?
To the bank.
Right in the pockets of the banks. And they do very well on penalties.
Okay, so locking in if you're uncertain about the distance. What about the 10-year fixed rate?
Well, the 10-year fixed rate is pretty high right now. So if and when the 10-year ever, and sometimes it does, it comes down very close to the 5-year, then it's not a bad play. And the penalties for getting out of a 10 After the 5 years, it is only 3 months interest. So it's not a bad take. But right now, you're paying a lot more money to get a 10-year. So now you have to, are the savings in the second 5 years enough to offset what you paid extra in the first 5? Right now, I don't think so.
So if someone was uncertain about the whole big picture of this for the future and really wanted to be safe, and that you see the 10-year come down to the 5 year, that would be a good time then.
That'd be a great deal.
Yeah. Okay, or close to it. All right. What about the deferment of the stimulus package that was announced by Justin Trudeau? How's that working exactly? People able to defer their payments for 6 months? How's that working?
Yeah. So that stimulus package has not trickled down yet, and it hasn't been defined specifically. So what the banks are doing is, and not just banks, but private lenders, mortgage investment corporations, secondary lenders, they're all kind of on this together, that if you call me, you call the bank, call the branch, and you're struggling because of the virus, you've been laid off, they will work with you. Now, some of them have a policy that they will say, we'll look at it 1 month at a time. You call me this month, or they'll look at it 2 months at a time. We'll give you 2 months relief. Call us back if you're still in trouble. Some of them are saying 6 months. So there's no hard and fast policy with all the lenders, but they are all definitely playing ball. They've all set up, most of them have set up toll-free numbers specifically for this. So you can call in, like Scotiabank, for example, has a 1-800 number specifically for people that are calling in about their mortgage and deferring the payments because of the virus. So they're all playing ball. Nobody needs to lose their house or anything because of this, but they're all different right now.
Does this just relate to mortgages, or is it going to apply to like a line of credit or car loans or anything like that?
Well, I'm only aware of the mortgage part because those are all the emails I'm getting, but I cannot imagine a bank wouldn't play ball with you on a car loan.
Right.
Or a line of credit. I have got emails so I have an American Express card, and I've got emails that said that if you're struggling, be sure to give us a call.
Now, what about so if we talk about the real estate market right now, if someone buys a home, normally we'd send an appraiser in there to have it appraised. That approves kind of, well, for people that don't know, you can get a pre-approval, but that doesn't really do it. The bank has to approve the transaction, which means they have to prove how much you paid for the house. So that involves the appraiser going in after post-transaction and the bank finally giving a rubber stamp on this saying, yep, that's fine. Where are we at with appraisers now and going into other people's homes?
Yeah. So, and you know what, I'm going to tell you what I think here, but then I'm going to ask you a question that's very tied to this because I'm also wondering from your side. So right now, a few things can happen right now. And I'm getting clients call me I've got people putting in offers this week and buying houses. Then they say, so I'm great right now. I'm working right now. You've approved me, but what if I lose my job tomorrow or the next day or 2 weeks prior to closing? What's going to happen at that closing? Also, another problem is, we're getting applications across right now and requesting an appraisal, and some of the appraisers are going to the house, but they refuse to go in or whatever. So that's a problem. So there's a few little issues that need to be dealt with and we'll chat on. As far as the appraisers, some lenders have acknowledged that they will accept drive-bys right now. So that'll free. So an appraiser will now feel better about going out. And I suspect more and more lenders will get on that. They will allow drive-bys. They'll take pictures and ask questions and maybe ask for the pictures of inside from the realtor when they were there before. So that could resolve the appraisal problem. Appraisals, however, are taking longer because there are a lot of appraisers who said, you know what, I'm just taking a break till this dust settles. But there are still appraisers out there doing it. Now, as far as the job, from what I understand from some of the lenders I've talked to, if come closer to closing, the clients are out of work because of the virus. The government has not so much guaranteed that you will get your job back, but they have definitely insinuating that that's in a package that they're working on, that if you've lost your job because of the virus, you will get your job back. So lenders are looking at it and saying, hey, they're guaranteed the job back, so we're not going to cancel this transaction just because they're laid off right now.
Right.
So basically, you have to be laid off because of the virus. You can't be fired because
Yes,
were bad, or you can't just quit your job.
that makes
So,
that makes perfect sense.
so my question to you is,
Hmm.
with all this uncertainty, and I'm seeing listings pop up now that aren't moving maybe as quickly as they would have 2 weeks ago, and are people listing, and are people
Yeah.
nervous about buying? Like you're in that
Yep.
end of it, and how are you finding it? Finding that?
So
What's your take?
so first of all, from the buying perspective, we haven't seen it even slow down at all. If anything, it might have increased a little bit. I think it's because, from a buying perspective, um, they now this could change next week. I mean, trying to anticipate what's going to happen next week and the week beyond. But right now, I'm seeing all kinds of showings being booked. Realtors are booking showings. I think it's because sellers are generally not home. You can practice social distancing fairly easily with your realtor, and I probably feel, I don't know, like you could go into home, keep your hands in your pocket. You're not touching anything. Disinfect your hands when you come out. There's nobody even there. Um, so maybe they're feeling that's being able to see the property isn't a high threat, level kind of scenario. The realtors aren't feeling that. They're practicing their social distancing, so they won't go near people and stuff like that. But we can unlock a door, let them walk in. We can kind of be there, not being on top of each other, and just disinfect your hands when you leave. That's kind of, I think, the process now. The selling side is distinctly increased for us, but I think it's because we're the only ones that offer an online showing. You're familiar with the marketing team, so we have 10 salaried employees here right now that specialize in various fields of marketing and produce what we call a video narrated 3D animated online showing. So it's basically the feedback we got prior to COVID-19 was, we know more about the house from your online showing than actually going to the house. So that service, meaning online service, I just came from speaking to some sellers. We've gotten like 2 listings this week. We've got another one coming probably by the end of the day. And what they're saying is, your service cuts down on unnecessary showings because it's so detailed, which in fact it does. We want to sell, but you're the one that can offer less traffic through our home and online. So basically, in our world here in real estate, social distancing equals online. Now, exposure is pretty important. That's what gives homes value. So if we don't expose the home, then people wouldn't get as much for it. Prior to this, we were seeing, well, I'm sure you're aware, you were seeing multiple offers probably under like 650. Actually, I had multiple offers on $1 million home just a couple of weeks ago. But most of the multiple offers were occurring under the 650 range. As you started pushing 700, it slowed down there a bit. But that demand hasn't gone away. That demand is very real, and I think the increase in phone traffic and showing everything we're experiencing is everybody's off work, and as long as they can feel safe, we're getting more traffic because basically. I saw a statistic that said during working hours, people are generally doing their own thing on social media and the internet 20% of their time. Well, imagine what that is now with them all home. So an online showing, if anybody's interested in that, if they go to flaherty.ca and click on sellers, it details what an online showing is there. That's drastically, into an extreme, almost completely eliminates unnecessary traffic through the home. We weren't targeting COVID-19. When we developed the system 10 years ago, we were thinking more exposure. But the flip side of the coin, which we are not targeting, that occurred is an extreme lack of unnecessary showings, because basically when you see one of our representations online, you've basically already been to the home. It's that detailed. So if someone's coming to the home when we're marketing, it's pretty much a second showing. How that's going to play out moving forward. I mean, who would have thought a month ago we'd have a glutton of oil and a shortage of toilet paper? Like, I mean, I mean, what's going to happen next? I'm not certain, but I think my opinion is, I think we're in for the long haul here. I don't think um, the government's going to take the foot off the brake. Like, I know people are talking weeks and a month and stuff like that. I think we're in for kind of a long haul. And when it comes to real estate values, I'm seeing the demand is still there. We're at an all-time high in real estate values. The stock market, you saw what's happened to that over the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So could real estate values, is this I mean, if it was me and I wanted to move, I'd be making sure I got out at the top of this market. Now, we're still at the top. It hasn't really changed. I don't know moving forward what real estate values will do. Depends on the depth of this thing and the length of time. But I think if I wanted to sell my home, I think I'd be getting it done sooner than later. What do you think?
Yeah, if I was listing, I would think this would be a good time to list it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a seller's market for the last, a strong seller's market for the last 3 months. And I think this could help it take the foot off that a bit, maybe become a bit more of a balanced market, buyer and seller.
Mm-hmm. See, the good thing with us is from a transaction standpoint, everything, we've been legal to do digital signatures in real estate now for 5 years, I think it is. It's been the norm. Like, so offer presentations and everything pretty much, it occurs once in a while together, but basically before even COVID-19, all transactions were occurring digitally online in any event, all the negotiations. So really it just leaves the showing. Having, from a seller's perspective, having people in your home, well, there's a solution for that. The online showing, which is why there's 10 salaried staff here that focus on that and exposing it. And then there's the flip side of the coin. Am I prepared to walk into someone's home when they're not there? And do I feel in danger if I'm not touching anything and I walk through a home? And what we're seeing right now is I'm having a hard time balancing between, there's more people at home with more available time. Absolutely. As well. So there might be a lot of concerns about people saying they didn't want to do that, but it's being offset by everybody's available right now to be shopping.
Yep. So. And money's cheap.
And money's cheap. So the peak of the market, interest rates are going down. Like, if you were one of those persons in we're seeing 20 offers on a house, in the $500,000-$600,000 range just prior to this. If you're one of those people that were losing out, I think those people are going, is this my opportunity? Rates just come down, and with all this happening, maybe I need to make sure I buy now. So a lot of different things, a lot of different moving parts there. Do you have anything further? This is Dwight Trafford. Dwight Trafford, how do people get in touch with you?
My website, OntarioLenders.com.
OntarioLenders.com.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest. Just go there. You'll find all my contact information, my cell phone, my email address, and my office phone number. And I'm working from home most of that's the beauty about our industry. I think my whole office, my whole company is working from home. And I know realtors are doing that. I've talked to a few realtors whose offices are closing their doors just for the purposes of being safe, but everybody's active. And I know lenders that I'm dealing with, they say we're 100%, we're working 100%, even though they're all working remotely now. So underwriters have gone home and working from home. The funders are working from home, and lawyers are now, a lot of them are working remotely and by phone. I understand that the choice of working with a client person to person is the lawyer's choice. There are ways of confirming identity and things they have to do. If they're comfortable with doing that, they will. We have a couple of really large firms that do that and do everything remotely. So it's everybody's choice. And
it's great that you mentioned that.
We're working full speed, even though we're at home.
Yeah, we just partnered Well, got some flat rates. We went out looking for a lawyer to partner with, and we wanted mobile signings, mobile
Yes.
showings. And we went out and found a firm that's doing that, Diamond and Diamond. We negotiated a flat rate because a lot of times things go a little strange. Something goes off the rails and the rates start going up, or there's a whole bunch of incidentals that are charged on top of what they quote.
Yeah.
So we went out with the notion to find somebody that offer flat rate. So, hey, this is what you're paying, so people know. So that's one of the things that they wanted. And they also wanted mobile signing. Diamond and Diamond offered mobile signing. So they can do all the signing digitally and they meet remotely. And I just got an email from them, I think it was 2 days ago, when they basically sent an email saying, listen, we're all working from home. We're utilizing the technology that basically they had already set up and is in place. And that's a fantastic the email I got was just basically, don't worry about any of the closings. We're going to be closing these. We're all working from home. We're 100% functional. We're doing mobile signing. And that was a great email. We wanted it for the other reasons and not seeing COVID-19, but considering we got that all set up and got the flat rate, and now that COVID-19's here, oh my God, it's even better. So, all right. And just, I know you said the website. What would be a good number to call you at, just so we have that right on up front?
416-347-8984.
416-347-8984. And I'm Kevin Flaherty. My direct line is 226-916-0595. 226-916-0595. Hope this was informative and helpful. Thanks very much, Dwight, for joining us. And stay safe, buddy.
You too.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.